tomorrow. Winnipeg's premier chamber concert series, Virtuosi, welcomes back the Horszowski Trio. Jesse Mills on the violin, Raman Ramakrishnan on the cello, and Rieko Aizawa at the piano. In a program titled With Fire and Passion, Raman has joined me in the Diamond Lane for a conversation ahead of the performance. Hey, welcome to Classic 107.
Thank you very much.
Well, you guys were last here a couple of years ago. We were talking off the air. Was that your Canadian debut?
As a trio, yes, it was.
Was that special at all to make your way north from New York being home?
Absolutely, especially at a time like this in our country. It's always nice to get away from the United States of America.
Well, what have you guys been up to since? I know you've been pretty busy.
We've been touring a lot. We also have a residency at a music school in Boston called the Longy School of Music. So we are in residence there about 5 or 6 weeks of the year and work with the students there and present a program at the end of the week.
So it's busy. You're also teaching. You're also, well, of course, active performers individually as well.
That's right. We try to focus our performing as trio performing. But we do teach. Jesse and Rieko teach at Longy, and I teach at Bard College.
Well, we're glad to have you here. I was also just kind of scrolling through your Facebook feed, and you guys made a Mexican debut. You've got some other tours coming up in the near future. Asia is off to Japan.
Yeah, we're going to Japan in November, and we're off to Europe in March of next year.
Oh, well, it's looking forward to seeing what you guys are doing. You guys are also in the midst of cutting a CD, and we're going to, well, it's nearly cut, in fact, and we're going to hear a little sampling of that a little bit later on. One of the things I wanted to touch on, though, in scrolling through the Facebook feed, that really struck me that you don't often see, I guess, in maybe 2018 in the 21st century, is that you guys have also had a lot of sketches of your performances done. That really struck me, is that artists are actively drawing or working as you guys are playing. I'm curious, as a performer, are they capturing something that you kind of feel an essence of your performance?
I think they are, yeah, and it's always amusing and often enlightening to see how they've reacted to the performance, and you wonder if it's what you've expressed in the music that comes across in the art, and whether there's some connection there. But yes, it is strange that we've had at least 2 or 3 sketches done while we've been playing.
To me, it speaks to also the connection you guys must make with the audience to have them capture that.
Well, that's what we strive for, of course.
So you can find that up on your Facebook page, the Horszowski Trio. Maybe not the easiest of names to pronounce. What can you tell us about Mieczysław Horszowski?
Well, he was a legendary Polish-American pianist, and he taught for many, many years at the Curtis Institute of Music. Mm-hmm. And Rieko, our pianist, was his final student. Her lesson was just months before he actually died, at the age of, I think, 101.
Wow.
And he was a remarkable person in that he actually met with Fauré and Ravel and Saint-Saëns and people like that.
Yeah.
So we feel lucky, at least Rieko feels lucky, that she's had direct contact with someone who's had direct contact with people that we feel are, classical composers.
Well, in classical music, we're so often interested in pedigree, where someone comes from. And I was reading a little bit about him, and I think he can trace his lineage back to Beethoven.
That's right? Yeah. Beethoven had a student, Czerny. Uh-huh. Czerny had a student, Leszczycki, and Leszczycki's student was Horszowski.
And I know you didn't study with him, but what a remarkable life. I'm wondering, how does that influence you as an individual or even as a trio?
Well, I think what we've learned from Rieko is that he was a very humble man, in addition to being a great musician, an honest musician. And so we try to take that earnestness of purpose to heart and to not get too wrapped up in ourselves, which is hard in the performing arts.
Definitely. A little humility goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. So you guys are back in town. Rave reviews the last time you were here a few years ago. I was looking at the program. You last performed Beethoven, Shostakovich, and Dvorak. What's on the docket this time round?
This time we've got 2 friends bookending the program, Schumann and Mendelssohn. Mm-hmm. And they've written very different pieces, but there's a similarity in the arc from kind of trouble to transcendence. And in between we have Haydn's famous Gypsy Trio.
I mean, we're going to touch on a couple of them, but with the Haydn, this is a well-known trio. You mentioned it. It's a very famous work. How do you go about approaching such a well-known piece in the repertoire?
It's got a lot of baggage, but we try to look at it freshly.
Yeah.
Our job is to look at old music as if it was written yesterday, and also to look at music that was written yesterday as if it was old and part of the classical repertoire.
And then from the Haydn, it goes over to some music of Mendelssohn, his C minor trio, his second.
Right.
What are the highlights for you in that work?
I'd say the main highlight is in the last movement when a chorale kind of invades the piece. Invade is the wrong word. But it
permeates in a way.
Permeates, yeah. It takes us to a new level of I don't know, transcendence is the word I can think of.
He had a way of doing that in such a light sort of way as well, because also in that work there's that minor scherzo too, right?
It's an amazing scherzo, and only he could have written it. It has that exactly what you said, a light touch, and of course it's devilishly difficult to play.
It's nice of him to do that for you guys as well, be able to show your chops.
Right.
So speaking of showing chops, you guys have just finished, as I mentioned moments ago, cutting your second CD. What can you tell us about this process? What's it like cutting a CD?
Well, it's a long process.
Yeah.
We recorded this CD last December, and we've been editing it since then. It's a double CD. It's the complete Schumann piano trios, including his rarely played Fantasy-Stücke for piano trio. And we recorded it in New York at the Academy of Arts and Letters. It'll be coming out probably in January of next year, so this is kind of a sneak peek.
Oh, well, delighted to have it here on Winnipeg's Classic 107. Raman Ramakrishnan, thanks so much for coming in to the studio.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, wishing you a wonderful performance tomorrow. Raman Ramakrishnan, cellist with the Horszowski Trio, along with Jesse Mills on the violin and Rieko Aizawa at the piano. They're performing in a program titled With Fire and Passion tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. at Eckhart Grammaté Hall, the University of Winnipeg. For more information, you can visit virtuosi.mb.ca or head to classic107.com. Raman, I'm wondering if you would mind introducing this second movement scherzo that we're going to be hearing.
Sure, yeah. I guess it's in three parts. An A-B-A kind of thing. The A section is kind of a galloping section. You might think of horse hooves. The second part, the B section or the trio section, dreams a little bit more. And then we get back to the galloping.
A-B-A on Winnipeg's Classic 107, a debut performance of the Horszowski Trio's Schumann First Trio.